What if one simple ratio between your heartbeat and your breath can reveal something about your body's condition? Well, over 100 years ago, the creator of Spectro-Chrome, Dinshah experimented over 5 years utilizing a bottle that's called a wolf bottle, WOLFE, which is a bottle that's compartmentalized. And he used that bottle to put these plastic tubes, which he then inserted in his nostrils. And like I said, spent over 5 years at all hours of the day, so morning, day, and evening, even night, experimenting whether there was a connection with like the rhythms of the body, for example. Um, and with that said, the first point I want to make is what is Dinshah, in discussing this experiment, he created a lexicon language. Well, in creating Spectro-Chrome, he developed a lexicon language in order to avoid legal action against him. There was a lot of legal action that unfortunately he went through, that the FDA initiated against him. And so he developed a lot of things in order to, not fall under their jurisdiction. So with that said, he called the heartbeat the cardosal and the breathing the spirosal. And according to his writings, if the ratio is determined by dividing the heartbeat per minute by breaths per minute, and that will give you, like for example, if you have 75 beats per minute divided by 15 breaths per minute, that would give you number five, the ratio of five. And in according to his writings, maintaining a ratio of 4 or 5 indicates a normal rhythm. In which case, through his experimentation and observation, showed that if the body maintains that rhythm, the body's reparative processes are intact. However, if that ratio were to become 3, for example, he signifies that it can definitely affect the body in negative ways. Which brings me to point number 2 that I wanted to make is, why did Dinshah think that this is still important? And the reason for that is, uh, through his observation and experimentation, he saw that if the ratio falls within below the 4 or 5, then the body's reparative processes begin to wane. And he used the term that people should be cautious if like they encounter a ratio of 3, for example, or less. Dinshot thought that the changes in this ratio reflected changes in the body's condition. So, as stated, a ratio of 3 signaled caution, while a ratio of 1 or 2 suggested a more serious condition. His reasoning was that when the heart's rhythm becomes disturbed, the balance between the oxygen rich and oxygen poor blood is also disturbed, placing stress on every organ of the body. And this idea became one of the foundations of how he evaluated the body's overall state, which brings me now to point number 3. Does this still matter today? So, whether you agree with Dinshaw's conclusions or not, his emphasis in observing the relationship between breathing and circulation is a reminder that he looked at the body as a system that does not work in isolation. So today's medicine, for example, uses tools like ECGs or pulse oximeters or echocardiograms to evaluate heart function. I believe that Dinshaw's, according to his writings, my opinion is that he kind of went a little bit further in so looking at the body as a through a more holistic approach. So let me know what you think in regards to this ratio. So this is just the beginning of understanding the cardosal and spirosal. In the future videos, we'll explore these connections even further and how maybe even the stars affect this rhythm. So let me know if you guys want me to make another video on that. And also let me know what questions you have about the ratio breath or the Spectro-Chrome system. Leave them in the comments. I read each and every one of them, and your questions often inspire future videos. So if you're interested in exploring the history, theory, and science of light and color, consider subscribing to the Light Lab. You can subscribe at www.thelightlab.org on the homepage in the bottom. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.